I'm 67 years old. For 3 years, I've been living in my son's house like a guest. My brother-in-law kept saying, "Don't be a burden on the family." I stayed silent because I didn't want to embarrass my son. But that day when he said to me in front of my grandchild, "What does this woman bring to us?" I said, "Enough is enough," and it was time to tell the truth. If this story touched your heart, click subscribe and let me know in the comments which city or country you're listening from. I'm really curious to know where you're watching from. I'm grateful to everyone who comments. My name is Margaret, but everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 67 years old. I've been living like a guest in my son Connor's house in Millbrook, a small town in Carolina, for 3 years. A guest. What an ironic word, isn't it? Guests come, stay a few days, and leave. I, however, have been quietly existing within these walls for 3 years, as if I were invisible. When I lost my husband Ted, my world was turned upside down. Ours was a 42-year marriage. I knew how he liked his morning coffee, a little sugar, lots of milk. I knew he loved watching old cowboy movies on Saturday nights, the watering schedule for the tomato plants in the garden, everything. And then one day, a heart attack, and the whole world I knew vanished in an instant. Connor called right away. "Mom, you can't live alone anymore. Come live with us," he said. At the time, I was grateful for the offer. My house felt too big, every corner too quiet without Ted. I thought being with my son's family might ease the loneliness. The first few days were really good. My daughter-in-law, Ava, was kind. My granddaughter, little Emma, would come to my room every morning and hug me. Connor seemed happy. I was happy too. Or at least I tried to believe I was. But things changed over time. Have you noticed how life changes slowly? Not all at once, but in small, almost imperceptible ways. At first, it was just little comments. Things like Ava saying, "Maggie, you're using too much water when you wash the dishes," or "You shouldn't use that detergent like that. You're wasting our money." Then Connor's brother, my brother-in-law Derek, got involved. Derek was a successful real estate agent, at least that's what he said. He would come home in expensive suits, polished shoes, and that superior tone of voice. And every time he came over, he had to make a comment. "Maggie, you should try not to be a burden on the family," he said for the first time, at the Thanksgiving dinner. The whole family was at the table. I had made mashed potatoes to go with the turkey, just like Ted liked. Derek put his fork down on the table and looked at me. I mean, we're getting older now. When we can't take care of ourselves, we should at least learn to be quiet. At that moment, I looked at Connor. My son, my son. I waited for him to say something, but he just looked at his plate. Ava smiled slightly. Emma, who was only 8 at the time, looked at us with eyes that didn't understand what was going on. I kept quiet, because I didn't want to embarrass my son, because maybe they were right. Maybe I really was a burden. I had felt a little incomplete since Ted died anyway. Maybe this wasn't my home. Maybe I shouldn't be here. After that night, I became even quieter. I was the first one up in the mornings. I would make breakfast, wash the dishes, fold the laundry, tidy up the house. I would take Emma to school before Ava left for work. In the afternoon, I would pick her up and help her with her homework. I would prepare dinner and set the table. And then, while everyone else went to the living room to watch TV after dinner, I would quietly wash the dishes in the kitchen. Why didn't you say anything? You might ask. Why didn't I speak up? Because I was an old mother living in my son's house. Because I had nowhere else to go. Because maybe I really was a burden. But something was growing inside me. A disappointment. A pain. Every evening, sitting alone in my room, looking at Ted's photo, I would ask myself, do I deserve this? For 42 years, I built a family, maintained a home, created a life. And now, in my own son's house, I felt as if I had never existed. The real turning point was 3 weeks ago. It was Saturday afternoon. Derek had come over again. He was sitting in the living room with Connor and Ava, talking about the real estate market. I was in the kitchen baking cookies, Emma's favorite chocolate chip cookies. Emma had come into my room. "Grandma, what are you doing?" she asked in that sweet voice of hers. "I'm baking cookies for you, sweetie," I said. I love you, Grandma, she said, and hugged me. That's when Derek's voice was heard. He was speaking loudly, maybe wanting me to hear, I don't know. What does this woman bring us? He said. There was disgust in his voice. She just takes up space. Have you noticed your electricity bills going up? Water bills? Food expenses? And on top of that, she's constantly wandering around the house. Emma had released her arms from around my neck and was looking at me with wide eyes. At that moment, what I saw in those innocent eyes destroyed me. Was it curiosity? Pity? Or was she wondering if Derek was right? Enough. Enough, I said. It was time to tell the truth. That night, I lay in bed but couldn't sleep. On the top shelf of my wardrobe was a small box. Everything I'd collected over the past 3 years was in that box. I got up, took the box down, and spread its contents on the table. Bills, receipts, bank statements. Everything was there. The next morning at breakfast, with everyone sitting at the table, I put the box in the middle. Connor was still eating his scrambled eggs. Ava was looking at her phone. Emma was drinking her juice. There's something we need to talk about, I said. My voice was calm but firm. Connor looked up. Mom? What's wrong? I opened the box. I took out the first piece of paper. This is the electricity bill I paid last month. The full amount, not half. $287. Ava's eyes popped out of her head. What? This is the water bill. $143. I paid it for the last 3 months. And this, I continued, pulling out another paper, is the grocery shopping. I spend between $200 and $300 every week. These are the receipts for the last 6 months. Connor had now put down his fork. Mom, I didn't know. Of course you didn't, I said. There was no anger or hurt in my voice, just exhaustion. Because you never asked. Like Derek said, I was just the old lady taking up space, right? Mom, it's not. No, Connor, it is exactly that. I cut him off. I've lived in this house for 3 years. For 3 years, I've gotten up at 6 every morning and made breakfast. I've taken Emma to and from school. I've cleaned the house. I've cooked meals. I've tended the garden. And while I've been doing all that, I've also paid your bills. Because I thought maybe that way I wouldn't be a burden. Maybe that way I'd deserve to be here. Ava stood up. Her face was pale. Maggie, I really didn't know. When Derek said those things, I should have objected. Yes, you should have, I said. My eyes were filled with tears, but I was holding them back. And you too, Connor. That Thanksgiving night, you saw how your brother treated me, and you didn't say anything. Emma was crying silently. I turned to her. Honey, I'm not telling you this to burden you. I just want you to know that people's worth isn't measured by how much money they make or how much space they take up. A family is there for each other. They support each other. They see each other. I closed the box. I'm moving tomorrow. I found an apartment. It's small, but it's mine. I won't be a burden to anyone anymore. Mom, no, Connor jumped up. Connor, I said, raising my hand. I tried to be happy with you for 3 years. But I couldn't be happy because I wasn't myself here. When Ted died, I lost myself. And then, when I came here, I lost whatever was left. I need to find myself now. Now, can I ask you something? Have you ever felt invisible? Have you ever felt alone even when surrounded by loved ones? Worthless, unnecessary, just taking up space? That's exactly how I felt. But that morning at that breakfast table, I finally found myself again, because I wasn't silent anymore. I wasn't the old woman waiting in the corner, putting up with everything. I was Margaret, Maggie. I was a woman who had sustained a marriage for 42 years, raised a son, lived a life, and I still had worth. The next day, I actually moved. Connor and Ava wanted to help, but I politely declined. I need to do this myself, I said. Emma cried a lot as we said goodbye. Won't I see you anymore, Grandma? She asked. I knelt down and cupped her face in my hands. Of course you will, sweetheart, always. But now, I'll be in my own home, And when you want to visit me, I'll welcome you. I'll bake cookies for you, tell you stories, but I'll do these things without being anyone's burden anymore. My new apartment was in the center of Millbrook. It had 2 rooms and a small balcony. I woke up to the sound of birds in the morning. I sat on the balcony while drinking my coffee. My old neighbors stopped by. I joined a book club. I started volunteering at the local library. And most importantly, I could finally breathe. In the first few months, Connor called often. He apologized every time. "Mom, I was a terrible son," he said. "I didn't notice you. I didn't appreciate you." "No, Connor," I said. "You weren't a bad son. It's just, life can blind you sometimes. It makes you unable to see what's right in front of you. But now you see. That's what matters." Ava called too. She apologized, crying. "Maggie, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have let Derek's words get to me. I should have defended you." "We can't change the past, Ava," I said, "but we can change the future." The biggest surprise came from Derek. A month later, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, there he was. He had a bouquet of flowers in his hand. "Maggie," he said. His voice was trembling. "I came to apologize for everything I said. I was a horrible person. And Connor told me everything. How much he paid. How much he helped. I just—" "Derek," I said, "why did you act that way? Why were you so harsh with me?" He bowed his head. "Because I was scared. My mom died last year, and I never visited her, never called. And when I saw you at Connor's house, the guilt inside me, I don't know. I guess I took my anger out on you. I said unforgivable things. People are complicated, aren't they? Sometimes our own pain makes us hurt others. Derek was like that. He was trying to deal with his own pain through me." "Come in," I said. "Let's make some coffee." Today, a year later, I'm at Emma's birthday party. I brought chocolate chip cookies I made in my own apartment. Connor met me at the door and gave me a big hug. "Mom, thank you for coming." "I always come," I said, "but now as a guest. And that's good." I went over to Ava as she was cutting the cake in the kitchen. "Do you need help?" "Yes, please," she said, smiling. "You know, I'm trying to learn your cookie recipe, but they never turn out like yours." "The secret isn't the recipe," I said, winking. "The secret is making them with love." Derek was there too. I wasn't angry with him anymore. People change, they apologize, they learn. He had learned. When the party was over, Emma ran up and hugged me. "Grandma, thank you for everything. And I'm sorry. When you heard what they said back then, I should have defended you, but I was so little and didn't know what to do." "Sweetie," I said, stroking her hair, "you were just a child. It wasn't your responsibility, but now you understand, and that's all you need to know." On the way home, to my own little apartment, I thought, life is strange. Sometimes we have to lose ourselves to find ourselves. Sometimes we have to move away to get closer. Sometimes we have to break our silence to really be heard. I am myself now. I am not a burden. I am not invisible. I was Margaret, Maggie, a 6-7-year-old woman living her own life in her own home. And I have value. I always did. It just didn't need to be seen by others. It was enough for me to see it. I remembered. And now I am free. I will never forget that moving day. It was the first week of May, 2024. Spring had fully settled in Millbrook. The trees were green. There was a sweet scent of flowers in the air. But as I left the place I had called home for 3 years, I couldn't see the spring or the sun. I could only see the road ahead. The moving van was waiting outside. I had so few belongings that one van was enough. Ridiculous, isn't it? 67 years of life could fit into a few boxes. I had left most of the things Ted and I had collected over the years with Connor when I moved out of that house. "Maybe someday they'll be useful," I had said. But in truth, I knew I couldn't carry the weight of the past. Connor stood on the porch, watching with his hands in his pockets. He looked terrible dark circles under his eyes, as if he hadn't slept in days. Maybe he hadn't. Ava was inside, looking out the kitchen window. Emma was at school. I had planned it that way on purpose. I didn't want to see my granddaughter cry. She had shed enough tears over the past 2 weeks. "Mom," Connor said, clearing his throat before he could speak. "Please. You can stay. We can change everything. I won't let Derek back in the house. Ava and I talked. Everything will be different." "Connor," I said, raising my hand. I had put the last box in the truck. The driver was inside, listening to the radio, giving us privacy. "Listen to me. This isn't your fault. It's not Ava's fault either. This is part of life. Sometimes people need to drift apart so they can learn to value each other again. But I never thought you were worthless." "You didn't?" I asked. My voice wasn't harsh, just curious. "Connor, how many times in the last 3 years did you really talk to me? Not just good morning or dinner was good. Did you really talk? Did you ask how I felt? How I was coping after your father? If I could sleep at night? If I knew why I should live when I woke up in the morning?" Connor's face crumpled. "Mom, you didn't know because you didn't ask, and I didn't tell you. We both made mistakes. I stayed silent because I didn't want to be a burden. You didn't ask because you assumed everything was fine, but now we both know, and that's enough." I hugged him. A long, tight hug. The way I used to hug him when he was a little boy. On his first day of school when he cried, when he fell off his bike, when he experienced his first heartbreak, I was always there. And now, he was crying, my 2-year-old, strong, tall son crying on my shoulder. "I love you, Mom," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." "I love you too, son, and I forgive you. But you have to forgive yourself. That's the hardest part." My new apartment was on Pine Street, on the 3rd floor of a small apartment building. There was no elevator, but it didn't matter. Climbing the stairs every day was good for me. I was getting physical exercise, and at the same time, with every step, I was repeating to myself, "You can do it, Maggie. You are strong." When I first opened the door, I stood looking at the empty room. The walls were beige, the carpet was old but clean. A small kitchen, a livable living room, a bedroom, and a small bathroom, and a balcony narrow but cute, just wide enough for a few pots. "This is yours, Maggie," I said aloud. My voice echoed in the empty rooms. "Your home, your rules, your life." It took a few hours to unpack. After the driver left, I sat in the silence, real silence. There was never silence at Connor's house, the sound of the TV, Emma's laughter, Ava's phone conversations, doors opening and closing. There was constant noise. But here now, I could only hear my own breathing. And for a moment, I panicked. What have I done? I thought. Maybe I should have stayed. Maybe everything would have worked out. Now I'm here, alone, all alone. But then I remembered Ted's words. On our 25th wedding anniversary, at the anniversary dinner, he held my hand and said, "Maggie, you're the strongest woman I know." Sometimes you forget that, but I never have. And one day, even when you don't need me, you'll still be strong. Don't forget that. I cried that night. I lay down on the floor, in my new apartment, in my new life, and let out everything I had been holding inside for years. I cried for Ted, for the life I had lost, for the 3 years at Connor's house, for losing myself. But then, through my tears, I felt something. Lightness, freedom. "I'm free now," I said, and I fell asleep. The next morning I woke up early. Habit for 3 years, I'd gotten up at 6 to make breakfast. But now I didn't have to make breakfast for anyone, just for myself. I made coffee the way Ted liked it, with a little sugar, lots of milk, and went out onto the balcony. The town of Millbrook was waking up. A few people were jogging down the street. The neighbor across the way was taking out the trash. Birds were chirping. And I, at 67, was truly alone for the first time in my life. Was it terrifying? Yes. Was it exciting? Yes, that too. The first week was strange. Old habits die hard. I was still waking up at 6. I made breakfast, but only for myself. At 3 in the afternoon, I would panic, thinking I had to pick Emma up from school, then remember. She wasn't my responsibility anymore. Loneliness had arrived, of course, especially in the evenings. At Connor's place there were at least background noises after dinner, but here there was only the TV and my own thoughts. On the evening of the third day, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, an elderly woman who lived in the apartment across the hall was standing there. She was about my age, maybe a little older. She was holding a plate of cookies. "Hello," she said, with a warm smile. "I'm Doris. Your neighbor across the hall. I saw you move in. I wanted to say welcome." "Oh," I said, surprised. "Thank you. I'm Margaret, but everyone calls me Maggie." "Maggie," Doris repeated. "Nice name. These cookies are for you. My own recipe. Almond. I hope you like them." I hadn't realized how much I missed that small gesture, that simple kindness. My eyes welled up. "Hey, hey," Doris said, concerned. "Did I upset you?" "No," I said, wiping my tears. "Quite the opposite. It's been so long since anyone did anything like this for me. Thank you." Doris came inside and we talked until 2 o'clock that night. We told each other our life stories. Doris's husband had died 10 years ago. She had 3 children, but they all lived in different states. She was alone, just like me, but she seemed at peace with her loneliness. "You know, Maggie," she said, sipping her tea, "loneliness and being alone are 2 different things. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. I have friends, I have hobbies, I have a purpose in life. Loneliness is what you feel inside. Being alone is the fact that there is no one around you, and you can live with the second if you solve the first." That night after Doris left, I thought about her words. She was right. Even at Connor's house, surrounded by people, I was lonely, because I felt lonely, invisible, worthless. But now, when I was truly alone, maybe I wasn't lonely. Over the next few weeks, I slowly began to establish a routine in my life. Every morning, after breakfast, I went for a walk. Millbrook was a small town. There were antique shops, small cafes, a library, and a park along the main street. I explored the town on my walks. I found places I had never noticed before. One day, I walked into the small library on Main Street. It was an old building, but the inside was warm and inviting. It smelled of books, old paper, ink, knowledge. A young woman sat at the front desk. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Just browsing," I said. "I just moved to town." "Well, actually, I haven't been here long, 3 years, but it's complicated." The woman smiled. "I understand. I'm Olivia. I'm the librarian here. If you're interested, we're looking for volunteers. Specifically, someone to help with reading sessions for the elderly. Would that interest you?" Volunteering. When was the last time I'd helped others because I wanted to, not because I had to? I couldn't even remember. "Yes," I said. "I'm interested." And so, every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, I began volunteering at the library. I read books to the elderly. Stories, novels, poems. Some were too old to see. Some were lonely and just wanted to hear a voice. Each of them had a story, just like me. There was Mr. Henderson, 83 years old, a Korean War veteran. He came every week, and we listened to his war stories. Mrs. Chen, 75 years old, an immigrant from China, still learning English. Young Sarah, only 28 years old, but undergoing treatment for depression. Books were her escape. My time with them taught me something. Everyone has pain. Everyone has a burden. But what really matters is what you do with that burden. Do you keep it inside, or do you share it with others? It had been 3 weeks since I moved when I got the first message from Emma. One afternoon, on my way home from the library, my phone rang. It was Emma's number. "Grandma?" Her voice was trembling. "Yes, sweetie, it's me. Is everything okay?" I just miss you. Can I come to you, please?" My heart tightened. "Of course, sweetie. Your mom and dad know." "Yes, they know. Mom was going to call you tomorrow anyway, but I couldn't wait. I need to see you." The next day, Saturday afternoon, Ava and Emma showed up at my door. Ava looked tired but had a sincere smile on her face. Emma immediately hugged me. I missed you so much, Grandma, she said. I thought about you every day. I missed you too, sweetie. Come on in. My apartment still looked sparse. I hadn't bought much furniture, just the essentials, but Emma looked around with interest. It's nice here, Grandma, she said. Small, but peaceful. Just like you. Ava sat down at the kitchen table. Maggie, can we talk? Of course. I made tea. Emma was out on the balcony, watching the street. Ava and I sat at the table. I don't know where to start, Ava said. Her hands were shaking. Every day I hate myself. When I think about how we treated you. Maggie, you're my mother-in-law. But you're more than that. You treated me like your own daughter. When you lost Ted, when Connor and I asked you to come here, we meant it sincerely. But then, over time, I turned you into a responsibility, a burden, and not realizing that is what hurts me the most. Ava, no, please, let me finish, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. I let Derek say those things. I didn't speak up. And it wasn't just him. I said things too. You might have thought I forgot, but I didn't. Maggie, don't wash the dishes like that. Maggie, you're wasting our money. Maggie, don't treat Emma like that. I criticized you constantly. As if you were a servant, not family. I held her hand. Ava, listen. We all make mistakes. You're not a bad person. It's just, life is hard. You're stressed. You have a job, a child, a husband. And when I came into your home, maybe I seemed like a burden. I understand that. But you weren't a burden, Ava cried. When we found your bills, Connor and I. Oh my God, Maggie, you were paying for everything. Electricity, water, groceries, everything. And we never noticed. How could we not have noticed? Because I didn't tell you. Because I did it quietly. Because I thought maybe I deserved to be here this way. Ava buried her face in her hands. I stroked her back. But it's different now, I said. Now we both know, and we can move forward. We can't change the past, Ava, but we can shape the future. Emma came in. Mom, don't cry, she said, hugging her mother. Grandma forgave us. Right, Grandma? Yes, sweetie, I said. I forgave you. After that day, Emma started coming to visit every week. Sometimes with Ava, sometimes with Connor, sometimes both of them. Connor came on a separate day, Sunday afternoons. We would go for walks, stroll around town, talk. One Sunday, while walking in the park, Connor stopped. Mom, I need to ask you something. Ask, son. Did you ever hate me? After what we did to you? I looked at him. The guilt was still there on his face. A year had passed since that breakfast that morning, but he still carried it. Connor, I said, listen to me carefully. I never hated you. Was I disappointed? Yes. Was I hurt? Yes. But hate? Never. You are my son. I've known you since you were a child. I know you. And I know you didn't mean to hurt me. You just didn't see. But now you see. And that's what matters. I can't forgive myself. Connor, I said, cutting him off. When your father died, I was furious. At him, at myself, at God, at everyone. Because he left me. 42 years of marriage, and then, one day, he was gone, and I was left all alone. That anger consumed me. Months later, I was still angry, even years later. And you said to me, Mom, Dad isn't coming back, but you're still here, and you have to live. Do you remember? Connor nodded. You were right. I had to live. But first I had to forgive Ted for leaving me. Then I had to forgive myself for not being a better wife, for not making his last years more beautiful. And finally, I had to forgive life for not being fair. Now, you have to forgive yourself too. Connor, you made a mistake, but making mistakes is human. What matters is learning from them. And you did? Now let it go. My son cried. My 3-year-old, strong, tall son cried in my arms in the middle of the park, just like he did when he was little, on his first day of elementary school. I love you, Mom, he said. I love you too, son. I always have, I always will. A year passed. A year living my own life in my own apartment. And what changes there were. Doris and I became best friends. We had breakfast together every morning, sometimes at her place, sometimes at mine. We took salsa lessons, yes, at 67 and 72. We joined a book club. We even took a short road trip to Vermont to see the fall leaves. My volunteering at the library expanded. Now I wasn't just reading, I started organizing writing workshops. I was helping seniors write down their life stories, Mr. Henderson's war memories, Mrs. Chen's immigrant story. As I read what each of them wrote, I realized something. Everyone has a story worth telling. They just need someone to listen. Emma grew up. She was 10 now, more mature, more understanding. She still came to visit every week, but it was different now. I didn't feel like I was a burden anymore. She came because she wanted to. By choice? My relationship with Connor and Ava improved. But it didn't just improve, it evolved. It wasn't just a mother-son relationship anymore. We were friends. We really talked. We shared our feelings. Connor talked to me about the problems he was having at work. Ava talked about her mother's illness. I talked about how much I missed Ted. That's how real relationships work, not just superficially, but deeply. And Derek changed. He really changed. He started therapy because he was processing his mother's death. One day he came to visit me, sat down, and apologized. Not just once for everything, for every word, for every look, for everything. Maggie, he said, you taught me how to forgive, both others and myself, and for that I will always be grateful. Now, in a strange way, he's part of our family. On Tuesday nights at dinner, he brings Olivia too. Yes, Olivia from the library. I introduced them, and now they're dating. Life is strange, isn't it? Today is Emma's 10th birthday party. I baked my cookies in my own apartment. They're famous in the family now. Emma calls them Grandma Maggie's magic cookies. On the way to the party, I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. I'm 68 now. My hair is completely white. I have more wrinkles on my face. But there's something different in my eyes. A sparkle. A life. When I arrived at Connor's house, everyone was there. Ava, Connor, Emma, Derek, and Olivia. They'd even invited Doris, a little family gathering. Emma greeted me at the door. Grandma, she shouted, hugging me. You came, and you brought cookies. Of course, sweetie, I never forget. We went inside. The house had changed, warmer, more welcoming. There were family photos on the walls. And I was there too. Not just in the background, but front and center. With Connor, Ted, Emma, a family. Maggie, Ava said, coming out of the kitchen. I need your help. I haven't finished the cake yet. Will you help me? Of course, I said. In the kitchen, side by side, decorating the cake, Ava turned to me. Maggie, I want to tell you something. This past year, since you left, has taught me so much. Most importantly, family isn't just living under the same roof. Family is seeing each other, hearing each other, valuing each other, and you taught us that. Thank you for leaving. For leaving? I said, surprised. Yes, Ava said, smiling. Because if you had stayed, we would have stayed the same. But when you left, you forced us to change, to look at ourselves, and to become better people. I hugged her. You were already a good person, Ava. You just forgot. When the cake was ready, we all gathered in the living room. Emma was in the middle, her friends around her, waiting for the candles to be blown out. Wait, said Emma. Grandma has to say something first. Me? I said, surprised. Yes, said Emma. Last year, on my birthday, everyone was unhappy. You were gone, Dad was sad, Mom was crying. It was the worst birthday ever. But this year, everyone is happy. We're all here. And it's because of you. So you should talk. I looked at everyone. Connor, Ava, Derek, Olivia, Doris. They were all looking at me, smiling. Okay, I said, standing up. A year ago, I left this house. At the time, I thought I was running away. But now I understand I wasn't running away. I was finding myself. When I lost Ted, I lost myself. And when I came here, I lost even more. But then, that morning at breakfast, when I told the truth, I finally found myself. This year taught me that your worth isn't measured by what others give you. Your worth is within you. It's always been there. And sometimes, to find yourself, you have to lose yourself. Sometimes you have to move away to get closer. Emma, sweetheart, today you turn 10. You're growing up. And as you grow up, life will get harder. People will disappoint you. You'll feel worthless. But never forget this. You are valuable. You always have been. You always will be. Just don't forget to remember that. Emma looked at me with tears in her eyes. I won't forget, Grandma. I promise. And one more thing, I said, looking at everyone. Families aren't perfect. We make mistakes. We hurt each other. But what matters is learning from those mistakes, apologizing, forgiving, and growing together. That's what we did. And I'm proud of that. All of us. Connor stood up and started clapping. Then everyone joined in. They stood and applauded me, a 8-year-old woman who had finally written her story. Emma blew out the candles. She made a wish. And as I looked at those happy faces, I wished, I hope that when you're Emma's age, you never lose yourself. But if you do, may you have the courage to find yourself again. After the party, on the way home, Doris was with me. She was driving me. That was an incredible speech, Maggie, she said. Thank you. But I just told the truth. You know, Doris said. You affected me too. You changed me. Me? How? When I met you, you were a broken woman. Lost. Aimless. But look at you now. You're glowing. And watching you, I thought about my own life. Was I lost too? Was I aimless too? And the answer was yes. But not anymore. You gave me hope, Maggie. Your age doesn't matter. Where you are doesn't matter. What matters is continuing to find yourself. I looked at her. Doris, 73 years old, was still learning. She was still growing. Just like me. Doris, I said, I should be thanking you. That first night, when you came with the cookies, you saved me. You reminded me I wasn't alone. And that changed everything. When we got to my house, we said goodbye. As Doris was leaving, she shouted, Breakfast is on me tomorrow. Sure, I replied. I stepped outside. As I put the key in the lock, I paused. This key, this door, this home, they were all mine. A year ago, when I first turned this key, I was scared. Now, I was at peace. I went inside. My apartment was small but warm. There were photos on the walls with Ted, with Connor, with Emma, with Doris, with my friends from the library. Photos of my life. My story. I stepped out onto the balcony. The town of Millbrook was asleep. The streetlights were on. A dog barked in the distance. And I, at 68 years old, was finally at peace. I want to tell you something else. Something very important. Last week, Connor called. Mom, I want to ask you something, he said. Ask, son. Ava is pregnant. We're having our second child. And we thought that maybe, if you want, you could live with us again. I mean, this time it would be different. We'd give you your own room. You could come and go as you please. No one would bother you. Just if you want to be with your family. A year ago, when I heard this offer, I might have accepted. I might have said, yes, I'll come. But now it was different. Now I knew myself. Connor, I said, that's a very kind offer, and I know it comes from the heart. But my answer is no. I'm happy here, in my own home, in my own life. And that's a good thing. Being away from you doesn't mean being apart from you. It just means being myself. Silence on the other end of the phone. Then Connor said, "I understand, Mom, and I respect that. You're the strongest woman I know." "I'm not strong, Connor. I just learned to be myself. And sometimes that's the bravest thing. Today, sitting here on the balcony, telling you this story, I realized something. Life is made up of cycles. I lost Ted, then I lost myself, then I found myself. Connor and I grew close, then we drifted apart, then we grew close again. But this time, it's deeper, more real. Some people ask, Maggie, do you ever regret it, leaving Connor's house? And my answer is always the same. No, I never regretted it. Because if I had stayed, I would have stayed the same. Silent, invisible, a burden. But when I left, I forced myself to change. And them too. Here's the last question I want to ask you. Have you ever lost yourself? Have you ever felt crushed under other people's expectations? Have you ever felt worthless? If your answer is yes, here's what I'll tell you. It's never too late. It's never too late. I found myself at 68. Maybe you'll find yourself at 40. Maybe at 50. Maybe at 70. Age is just a number. Tonight, before going to bed, I looked at Ted's photo. For the first time in a long time, I didn't cry. I just smiled. I found her, Ted, I said to the photo. The woman I lost. The Maggie I lost. She was always inside me. I just needed to see her. And that night, I slept peacefully. Ted was in my dream. He was smiling. "I'm proud of you, Maggie," he said. "I always knew you could do it. You just needed to know it too." Final thoughts. A year and 3 months have passed since that morning breakfast. A year and 3 months as a woman standing on her own 2 feet, living her own life. And what have I learned? First, silence is sometimes a louder scream, but speaking up, telling the truth, standing up for yourself, that is the greatest courage. Second, family isn't perfect. We make mistakes, we hurt each other, but if there is real love, we forgive, we grow together. Third, your worth is never, ever measured by what others give you. Your worth is inside you. It always was. It always will be. Fourth, age is just a number. At 68, you can make new beginnings. You can learn salsa. You can make new friends. You can completely change your life. Fifth, sometimes you have to lose to find. Sometimes you have to move away to get closer. Sometimes you have to break to become stronger. Now, a few months later, I'm helping Emma with her school project. She has to give a presentation about heroes. She came to me and said, "Grandma, you're my hero. Can I do a presentation about you?" My eyes welled up. "Sweetie, I'm not a hero. I'm just a woman learning to be herself." "But Grandma," Emma said, those bright eyes of hers, "heroes aren't people who wear capes. Heroes are people who do the right thing in hard times. And you did that. Even when everyone ignored you, you stood up. You fought for yourself. That's a hero." Maybe Emma was right. Maybe heroism isn't about grand gestures. Maybe heroism is waking up every day and carrying on. Maybe heroism is saying, enough. Maybe heroism is loving yourself. A few weeks ago, Derek wanted to take me to his therapist. "Maggie," he said, "my therapist wants to meet you. I told her about you, and she said your story could inspire others." And so, one Wednesday afternoon, I went to Dr. Phillips' office. A young woman, maybe in her 42nds, a warm smile. "Maggie," she said, "Derek has told me so much about you, and I want to talk to you. Because what you did is extraordinary. At 67, you completely changed your life. Where did you find the courage?" "It wasn't courage," I said. "It was desperation. I was so broken that I had to either get back up or disappear completely, and I chose to get back up. But many people in that situation choose to disappear. Why were you different?" I thought long and hard. "Because I didn't want to disappoint Ted," I said finally. "He always told me, Maggie, you're so strong. Don't forget that." And for years I didn't believe him. But that morning, at that breakfast, I realized that if I didn't speak up now, I never would. If I didn't get up now, I'd be sitting there forever. And that would be an insult to Ted, to all the years he spent on me, to the strength he saw inside me. Dr. Phillips nodded. I see. So, in truth, Ted is still with you. Your guide. Your inspiration. Yes, I said, my eyes welling up. Every day, every decision, every step. He's with me. Last month, the town newspaper wanted to interview me. A small article. Local hero. Maggie's story. At first I refused. I'm no hero, I said. But the editor insisted. Maggie, everyone in town is talking about you. Your work at the library, your care for the elderly. Your story is inspiring. People need to hear it. And so, the article was published. And then, the letters started coming. From elderly women, from young women, from men, all telling their own stories, sharing their own struggles. One woman wrote, Maggie, I am 72 years old. I live in my daughter's house, and just like you, I feel invisible. But after reading your story, I felt encouraged. Tomorrow I will talk to my daughter. I will find my own apartment, just like you did. Someone else wrote, I'm only 35, but your story reached me. My husband constantly criticizes me. I feel worthless. But I saw what you did, and I thought, if you can do it at 67, I can do it at 35. Thank you, Maggie. You gave me hope. Reading these letters, I cried, tears of joy, because I realized that my story is not just my story. It is the story of thousands of people, maybe millions, the silent ones, the invisible ones, the ones who feel worthless, and maybe, just maybe, my story will give them a voice. Today, exactly 1 year, 3 months, and 17 days later, Connor invited me to a special dinner. Ava, Emma, Derek, and Olivia would be there too. We have a special announcement, he said. When I arrived at the dinner, everyone was seated at the table. There was a large cake in the middle. It read, Thank you, Maggie. What's this? I asked, surprised. Connor stood up. He had an envelope in his hand. Mom, he said, this past year has taught us a lot. Most importantly, to appreciate you. And to show that, we decided as a family. He opened the envelope. He took out a piece of paper. This is a donation to the Millbrook Public Library. $50,000. In your name. A new section will be opened. The Maggie Thompson Senior Reading Room. In your honor. My breath caught. What? No. This is too much. No, Mom, Connor said. It's not enough. You gave us so much over the years. Your time, your energy, your money, your love, and we never noticed. Now this is a small gesture. So your name, your kindness will be remembered forever. Ava stood up too. Maggie, you taught me how to be a mother. Not just to give birth, but to truly love. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. Emma ran over and hugged me. Grandma, my school project was chosen as the best project. The presentation I did about you. My teacher said everyone needs a Maggie. Derek and Olivia approached too. Derek said, Maggie, you changed my life. You taught me to forgive. And for that, I thank you every day. Olivia said, the first day I saw you in the library, I knew you were special, but I only learned how special you were later. Maggie, you are an inspiration. They were all looking at me. Their eyes were shining, with love, with gratitude, with respect. And I, at 68 years old, finally understood. I had value. I always had. It just needed to be seen. They just needed to see it. But most importantly, I needed to see it. You, yes, you, listening to this story, I want to tell you one last thing. Maybe you are a Maggie too. Maybe you feel invisible. Maybe you silently endure everything too. Maybe you think you are a burden too. But you are not. You are not a burden. You are not invisible. You are not worthless. You, just like me, are valuable. There is a strength within you. Maybe you don't see it now, maybe you've forgotten, but it's there, it's always been there. And one day, hopefully very soon, you will find that strength. You will stand up, you will speak up, you will say, enough. And on that day, you will be free. Just like me. Tonight, as I lay in bed, I looked out the window. The stars were shining. Millbrook was quiet. And I, in this small apartment, in this small town, was finally at peace. Ted, I said, looking at the stars, I did it. I was lost, but I found myself. I was broken, but I gathered my pieces. I was silent, but now I have a voice. And I know you're looking at me with pride, because finally, I am the woman you see, that strong, brave, valuable woman. And as if in response, a star fell. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe it wasn't. But in that moment, I felt it. Ted, with me, always with me. And I fell asleep with a smile, because now I knew. I am Maggie, Margaret Thompson, 68 years old, living in Millbrook, Carolina, widow, mother, grandmother, friend, volunteer, and most importantly myself. And that is enough. I'm ending this story here, but in my real life the story continues. Every day is a new page, a new adventure, a new learning experience. Next week Doris and I are going to New York. We'll see a Broadway show for the first time, 68 and 73 years old. Why not? Next month, a new program will start at the library, Write Your Story. We'll turn seniors' memories into books, because everyone has a story, and every story is valuable. Emma is moving on to middle school. She's growing up. But every Saturday, she still visits me. We bake cookies, we talk, and I teach her life lessons, the way I learn them. Connor and Ava's second child is due next month. A boy. And you know what they're naming him? Ted. In honor of my grandfather Ted. That really moved me. Because it means Ted's legacy lives on. Just as I haven't forgotten him, they won't either. And I keep on living. Every day. Fully. Because now I know. Life is short. Very short. And I will spend my remaining years in my own light, not in the shadow of others. Final words. If this story touched you, please do something. Just one thing. Look in the mirror. Look at yourself. And say, I am valuable. I am worthy of being seen. I am worthy of being loved. Say it. Out loud. Every day. Because until you say it, you won't believe it. But once you start saying it slowly, it becomes true. It happened for me. It will happen for you too. I promise.